Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining into this webinar and your interest in the concept of AI mind map and AI mind mapping for planning. And so just let me start with a quick introduction about myself so as to get a better feel about where I come from and how I got introduced to this concept of mind mapping and all. So till about the year 2014, I was working in various companies. I was in a job, and primarily my focus was more on project and program management kind of activities, and in both the brick and mortar kind of companies and the IT and the semiconductor services. So basically, I've had experiences both setting up, plants, powder plants, physical plants, as well as working on IT or non-tangible kind of projects also. But this project and program management is something which has been a big passion of mine throughout my career in corporate and even now. Uh, Somewhere during this particular years only, around about 2010 or 2009, I got interested in the concept of mind mapping and I started experimenting a lot with mind mapping. And so all this led to a situation where in 2014, I decided to become an entrepreneur, a freelancer, and I started spreading mind maps to various people through my online programs, through the classroom sessions, through my books. And that is what I've been doing since 2014. Along with this, I and my wife, we also work on a company where we help out register medical devices in India. And but needless to say that mind maps is something which is also an integral part which we are using day in and day out in running our small business that we have. Apart from that, so I'm also interested in writing. So since 2014 onwards, I started writing on books, but I wanted to write books which had a real life application of mind mapping, because I felt that a lot of times when I was doing my sessions, that people would be aware, they would grasp the concept of mind mapping, but beyond a point, what would happen is that they would limit themselves to applying it to one or two areas. So I wanted to demonstrate through these various books of mine that mind mapping as a concept is something which can be applied across numerous areas, right from project management to meetings to writing articles, books to planning, not planning. So this I have two books are there on self-help, business excellence, learning, teaching better, for students, for academics, and also all these are different applications of mind mapping. And this is something which, whatever touches your life, I think it is important for you to question whether it is possible for us to apply mind mapping over there or not. Because simply put, it's a tool which helps us, clarify and bring clarity to our thinking process. So, with that, let's get on to what this webinar is all about. So, in this webinar is structured something like this. I'll just talk very briefly about mind mapping plus AI, how these two things they connect together. Then we'll get into the examples relating to planning and project management across a hierarchy. So I'll try to pick up one example from each of these areas. Example of top management for a project manager and for a team member. The objective of this webinar is primarily see to tickle your imagination, to give you some demonstration about how I am using AI coupled with mind mapping, so that you're able to come out with your own ideas on how you could use top level planning and daily planning for your specific area of work. So that is the objective that I'm having for this particular webinar. So if you're able to pick up maybe one or two ideas which you can really implement into your whatever specific work that you may be doing, then I think that would be a good success for this particular short webinar that we are having. Okay, so let's get started with the webinar with the topic. So MM plus AI, mind mapping plus artificial intelligence. So let's first understand what are the abilities of mind mapping. Right. So, what is the abilities? What are the potentials of mind mapping? This is something which, many years ago, 10 years ago, almost when I was doing a lot of these classroom sessions, I discovered in my slides where I said that mind mapping is nothing but a simple technique which helps us organize information and helps us in idea generation. Now, if you look at it, these are two things which are extremely important for any organization. Day in and day out, when you're working in any organization or any business, whether you're an entrepreneur or whether you're a project manager or CEO, at some level or the other, every day you are organizing information and you're generating ideas. You cannot escape from these two tasks on a daily basis. And mind mapping is something which would help you, it enables you to do these tasks in a better way. So 10 years, 15 years ago, this is what mind mapping was all about. And it is still about this. Fundamentally, it is about this. Though, of course, when we apply it to academia and all, probably we can say that it helps us in recall and all those kind of information. But primarily at the core of it, this is what mind mapping is actually achieving. Now, coming to AI. Now, I like to look at AI as an additional individual, a additional I individual. You know why? Because it's very simple. The AI is simulating HI, is simulating human intelligence, right? And as an HI, what is AI? The abilities of how is it simulating HI? It is simulating human intelligence by through the process of learning, reasoning, problem solving, language understanding, and most of all, it is also prone to mistakes like human intelligence. Okay, so if so, we have to look at this as an additional individual in our team. There are a lot of tasks which we have been trained before the advent of AI. We have been trained to do tasks sitting all alone. We always have an additional individual ready to help us out. Okay, but we should know how to be able to extract the and the complete ability of that additional individual. So, and what are the abilities of this individual, the additional individual or AI? It is capable of large data and information processing, and it can help out in problem solving. You know, these are the two fundamental things with which AI is helping us. Now, if you look at what we talked about earlier, when we talk about mind mapping abilities, we have a similar flavor that is coming in over here. We have data and information processing. We have similar thing. We are organizing information, and that is helping us in processing information better. We have problem solving. Now, when we are doing problem solving, what's happening is that we are actually generating ideas to be able to solve the problems. Right. So that being the case, you see, there is a very close connection that happens between the abilities of mind mapping and between what abilities AI is able to get to the table. Now, as a result of this, when we talk about mind mapping plus AI, what are we actually getting? We're getting a ability to amplify the information organization and processing, and to amplify, magnify ideas generation to increase our potential over in both these areas. Right. So that is the power of artificial intelligence coupled with mind mapping. But at the same time, of course, we should know how we are able to use AI. We should not use it in in a reckless manner so that we get away from the area that we are trying to focus upon. So we have to guide AI. That other individual, you have to guide it accordingly to be able to amplify the abilities and amplify what we want to achieve through our various tasks. Okay. So with that, let's move on to the core of this session, and just let me take 1 minute in revisiting the elements of planning. I'm sure everybody already knows about this, but just to so what are the elements of planning? So first of and foremost, planning is something which is helping us in organizing and prioritizing our tasks, our plans, etc. And what we need to realize is that when we talk about planning, it is not something which is kind of limited to our daily tasks. Okay, this is something which is actually, it is across the hierarchy of an organization. Everybody is doing planning. So this is one thing. So first and foremost, it is helping in organizing, prioritizing across the organization. Second, I think is very important. The planning is something which should be able to overcome this feeling of being overwhelmed. A lot of time we face the situation where we feel that we have a lot of tasks on our head, on our hand, and we not know how to proceed, or we get into a situation where we get a little paralyzed with everything that is coming in, bombarding us from different directions. So planning is something, it should be able to help in overcome this feeling of being overwhelmed with a lot of things to do. Third, very important, is fine, all these things have to be done, but at the same time, planning should have some element that it is able to motivate us to action. Right. Now, you may wonder how this is possible, or is it really possible? We'll see how. There's some things which we'll discuss across in the next segment when we look at the examples, where we look at what are they can be certain things which can really motivate us to actions. And this is something which is very true for mind mapping also. A lot of time people ask me, what is the biggest benefit of mind maps? I say mind map, fine, it will give you clarity to your mind. Right, that is one part of it. But the biggest benefit of mind mapping is that from the mind map that you've made, you should be able to derive actionable points. It should be able to motivate you to action. Same way, planning also should be such that it is able to motivate you into action once your plan is there in front of you. And finally, most important, planning has to be simple. Right? You cannot continue to do what we call as gold plating on your planning and you forget about your actual project that you're supposed to do. So this is a golden rule that the planning, it should not be an overhead. It should be absolutely simple, and it should aid your project rather than hinder the project. So it should not be too complex. And also, let's see, look at, so with all these elements of planning, let's look at some of the examples that we look at, and so see how they are able to help out in these areas. Okay. So when we talk about planning across an organization, so let's say, for simplicity, I've just put three levels over here. One is, say, the top management, the CXO, the CEO or CFO, whoever, person who might be interested in strategic planning. Correct? They are the ones who are giving direction to the organization. Right, that this is what we need to achieve over a horizon of 6 months or 1 year or 3 years, whatever. And then we have the project manager who is executing projects which would be in line with uh, the strategic planning that is being provided by the top level management. Right. And finally, you have a team member who would be working on specific aspects of the project and maybe, let's say, reporting into the project manager. Right. So just for simplicity, I've defined the organization like this, but of course, I mean, organization to organization, the complexity of the hierarchy may vary. You could have more layers, but I think this should be able to give you a good, the examples are based on this. So let's look at first example, which is related to the CXO, let's say for the strategic level planning. So what we are looking at is, this is a quick model. This is the European Foundation for Quality Management has proposed this model. They come out with different versions of this, and I think they keep on making some modifications, etc., to it and making improving it further. But the basic model of EFQM, what it states is that for an organization to move forward, this is one way they can define the objectives that they have. So, for example, here on the left hand side, they've defined 4 areas where the organization defines their results that they would like to achieve, and results relating, say, to customer. So relating to customer, a result could be to have maybe 20% more customers joining in, or a market share or whatever. Then you have relating to people, we want attrition to come down by 5% or whatever. We have some society results, and then there are some key performance results which could be, for example, increasing revenue by 10%. Right now, these are the results, and on the right hand side we have what is known as the enablers, and these are the enablers, and there has to be a connect between the enablers and the results. So typically how we use this model is that first we have to define what is the result that we would like to achieve, and then we look at what are the enablers corresponding to the to that particular result, in these different areas that have been defined. So enablers have been defined in this area of leadership, people, partnership and resources, processes, and innovation and learning. Right. So let's look at how AI mind mapping can help us over here. I have some prompts which I've kept ready for something like this. So, right. Now, what I do is I'm asking AI that one of our key performance result is to increase the revenue by 10%. Can you identify possible enablers for this in the corresponding enabler areas in the above mind maps? Okay, so let's see what happens. Now with this, when we are giving an enabler, when we are giving a single result, there could be multiple enablers, right? So look at this. So these are multiple enablers that the AI has been able to identify, saying that for having the 10% increase, what we need to do probably one is setting clear revenue and goals for this, leading by example, people, incentivizing the sales performance team, partnership, collaborating with strategic partners, processes, optimizing the sale process, improve CRM, etc. So now it gives me a lot of ideas, right? Now, see what is happening is so one. This is wonderful that at one go I'm able to get a lot of ideas, and these ideas they're not just limited to one or two areas. AI has been able to generate these ideas for me across all the enablers. Right. Now, looking at my specific business, right, I analyze each of these ideas to see what is it that can really be useful for me and what I can actually implement into my organization. Right. So this is one way, and it becomes easier for me to, it's like a brainstorming that I'm doing with AI, and it's generating ideas for me which are really useful and which could help me develop. So like this, once I've defined all the results across all these areas, right, one by one, I can then generate ideas for what can be the enablers for this, and be ready with a complete map of what I would like to have. Okay, and once this map is ready with me, it becomes like a this would be like a dashboard. This would be like a dashboard that would is there in front of us, in front of the top management, in front of the people. It is cascaded to all the people inside the organization, so they're able to also see that okay, this is the direction in which we are supposed to go, and these are the things that we are supposed to do. So this is again, this is one way in which the top level or strategic planning can be enabled using AI. Okay. So this is one example. Now, let's look at another example. This is a second example, which would be more from the point of view of a project manager. So let's say that I'm a project manager, and there is a project charter that has been created. Okay. So what I have to do is and in the project charter, I say that there is a project charter which I have uploaded onto this AI. And what I'm asking now AI to do is that, let's see, I say from the attached project charter, please identify all the stakeholders and mind map them on individual branches of a new mind map. Okay, first step, I'm doing identification of all the stakeholders from this long charter document, about 10, 12 pages of charter document is there. So once these stakeholders have been generated, then I'll tell you what is the next step that I'm wanting to demonstrate actually over here. Okay. So this immediately I'm able to see it generates a very clean list of all the stakeholders that are there, right from the project team to who's the sponsor, the end users, head of design department is there, the support team. It's also gone into the document to be able to identify even the names of the different individuals. Right. So we have all these different individuals, and we have all these stakeholders have been identified very clearly over here. Now, so one is this a quick identification of the stakeholders. Second, what is more important, I would like to demonstrate here is the fact that we can ask AI to say identify two benefits of the project for each of the stakeholder. Right. Now, this again is what I call as a project benefit analysis. Now, I find a lot of people, a lot of project managers actually, they do not do this particular step, or probably they are not aware about it. Okay, so let's look at what AI has generated. So yeah. Okay, so here it is. So for example, if I look at the support team, it says it reduced customer complaints, improved customer satisfaction. So the project is about an image library service which is getting updated. And for marketing, it has improved brand perception, better position in the market. And like this, it's been able to identify all these for each of the stakeholders. It's gone to the level of the each individual and identified. So for design team also, again, they have identified like the sponsor and for end user. Okay. Now, this is something which is very important. This I feel is something it should be a mandatory step that every project manager must. The reason for this is a lot of times when we are working on a project, we are focused more upon the final product that we would be developing and handing it over to the end customer. Right. A lot of time we miss on the fact that every project that we do is adding a lot of value to the team, to the organization, to the project manager who is doing the project, right? And that is something which is very important. That is also something which has to be seen. So that is one from the point of view. This is something which also motivates the people a lot. I've done this in a lot of my workshops, and a lot of my time, the results that I get, the people come and say that, oh wow, we did not know that our project was having so many other benefits. About this we were not aware at all. And this is something which really would it helps motivate the project team. The other thing is that, for example, if we have a new project, if you've defined a project and you want to get approval from your stakeholder, or you want to get some more budget from your sponsor, okay, you want to negotiate something more in your project with your sponsor, what do? You make a project benefit analysis like this, and then you go to your sponsor. Okay, and you tell the sponsor that, of course, it is helping you out with your increased revenue, with your improved image content, etc. But at the same time, look at how it is helping the project team or the support team or the head of design department or the end users. This kind of clarity we are not able to a lot of times get into a project because we want to rush into the project and get into the nuts and bolts of it. But this slightly higher level thinking helps us keep the team motivated and navigate better into the project. Okay, so in this particular case, what we found was just doing undo over here so I can work directly on the sheet again. So this was one example wherein what we've done is that we've identified the stakeholders from project charter from a document that was existing. Okay, now let's look at another example where, let's say, I have a project defined. So I have these are kind of typical projects on which we work. So again, what I do is I give a prompt and I say, I'm defining my project over here. So what is the project? It's a project to register a medical device in India to allow for its import from a German client. And can you identify all possible stakeholders for such a project and indicate them individually on each of the branches, right? See, I'm not going directly into the project benefit analysis right now over here because I would like to be sure that the stakeholders being identified are correct in line with what probably is there at the back of my mind. Okay, so but this is without a project charter. So previously it was a 10-page document and now it is a 3-line statement that I'm giving, and it gives me some interesting results. Right. Yeah. So it says, wow. So it says, given me these, the Indian importer is the stakeholder, the notified body, if applicable, distributors is there, CDSU. Now, this is very interesting to note. So it has gone into my industry and it has gone down to the level where it is identified the specific body which is doing the regulatory aspects and all, and it is identified this body and said that identified them as a stakeholder for this. Customs authority is the place where the medical device, after it has been approved, it would be cleared. So this also has been identified. Now this would not be coming immediately to my mind, but it's been able to identify this. Healthcare professionals and institutes. This is very important. Sometimes when we are also doing this medical device registrations, our interaction is more with the customer and not with the end user. So I realize that, of course, the main effect of the medical device is on the end user. So this again have been correctly, and of course, the client is a major stakeholder. So this, I'm happy with the kind of stakeholder identification that has been done over here. It's quite comprehensive, right? I mean, keeping in mind the fact that I've just given a 3-line statement about my project, and it has gone to this level of depth to be able to identify all these things, right? Next, I say after this, then I get into and I say for each of the not internal stakeholders, for each of these stakeholder, let's say for each of these stakeholder, please identify two main benefits of the project to each of them. Okay. So now I'm getting into, once I'm satisfied with the stakeholder analysis that has been done, the correct identification of the stakeholders, then I get into the second step where I requesting getting AI's help to be able to get. Okay, so here again, clearly it has been able to identify what are the benefits for the Indian importer, expansion, notified body. See, this I would like to love to look at what is it identified for the German client. So it says access to Indian market and increase revenue. Yes, of course, perfect. And to CDSU, to the authority over here, it is improved healthcare. Now, this is very interesting. It's been able to identify improved healthcare because it's improving the healthcare over here in India, access to advanced technologies. So to the healthcare professional, improved patient care, access to advanced technology, and all this has been identified. And interesting to note also that look at all these icons, the images also they're able to put, which are quite in line with whatever has been put onto the text. So I'm able to generate this. So now this is, if you look at it, this is a mind map which has been generated in about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, just bases those 3 lines that I have given, and it gives me a lot of rich information about the project and about the possible benefits that are arising from the project. Okay, so this again is like a project management practice, which I thought I would discuss over here and present here, because a lot of times it gets missed out and a lot of project managers are not aware about it. Please try this out once with your projects, and you will really love to try it again and again with all your projects that you have. Okay. Now, coming to the final part, so let's look at the daily planning, right? So the previous chart that I showed you, the previous two charts, in fact, that I showed you, those are actually coming from my book, which is on mind maps for effective project management, and there's another book which is on mind maps for having mind-blowing meetings. So those are the two books from which I've taken the reference from the previous two mind maps that I showed to you. Now, let's look at another mind map. This is time-based, and this we are talking about the daily tasks, kind of stuff that needs to be taken care, say typically by a team member, or even project managers at times have to get into these kind of nitty-gritties. I think this can really help quite a number of people inside the organization. And this is something which I'm taking as a reference, which is coming from this book of mine, which is planning the mind map way. Now, so just to explain this mind map first, I think it's pretty self-explanatory. What I've done is, this is a time-based to-do task list. So I put my tasks into 4 categories, right? So the first is tasks which are less than 15 minutes, which are coming over here. Then there are tasks which are 15 to 30 minutes. And then you have tasks 30 to 45 minutes, and there are tasks which are greater than 45 minutes, right? So greater than 45 minutes tasks are typically what I would say are like projects that we are supposed to do, because these would require more amount of time. Now, these are the kind of tasks which actually come up on a daily basis. Some of them they're actually important, but they can sometimes be a bit of an interruption also to these other tasks, to the main projects that we would like to do. But at the same time, we have to keep a track of all these tasks, the smaller level tasks that we have to do. Now, I like to bifurcate them into these 3 sets of categories in 15 minutes each. And the reason for that is simple, because every time I have a new task, I have to think little bit, for that microsecond, or for that 5 seconds, to see where I'm placing it. Okay, so that way it really helps me to, to have a complete picture, and to organize my tasks in a better way. Now, see, so the first step is that once you have these main branches ready with you, you could do what they call as a brain dump. of all your tasks that are coming to your mind into these various branches, right? So after you've done a brain dump and you've identified all the tasks that you would like to do, they're now they're in front of you. And every time, so every time when you're putting a task over here on this particular chart, the good thing is that you are actually attaching a time value to it. The moment we attach a time value to our task, we know that it's not like an unending task. We know there is an end point to the task. This is one of the key reasons why we get overwhelmed by a lot of our tasks, because we do not arrest them in terms of the time that the task is supposed to take. Okay. Now, let's say after you've done a brain dump of all your tasks, okay, I'm giving this interesting task to AI. I say, let's say, so here the tasks are a little less, but I mean, if you're doing this for the first time, you're doing brain dumping of all your tasks, probably you'll have more number of tasks. And I say that excluding that greater than 45 minutes branch, estimate the total time to complete all the tasks in the child branch. Okay, so what I'm trying to estimate is that what is the total amount of task that I'm supposed to complete at this, I mean, what is the total time required for me to complete all my tasks? Now, the interesting thing that comes out, it says that, okay, you have 9 tasks, 285 minutes or 4 hours and 45 minutes. Now, look at this. I mean, on the face of it, the tasks may look many, but I realize that, okay, this is just 4 hours and 45 minutes of tasks. And this also, again, it is taking the maximum, it's the time. So, for example, here it is 30 minutes. So it is taking the 30 minutes, those tasks it is taking as 30 minutes, and here it is taking each one of them as 45 minutes. It would be less than that also. Now, the moment I see this 4 hours and 45 minutes, there are two things. One is that immediately I know that fine, if I work continuously for this 4 hours 45 minutes, which is just about, say, let's say half a day, I can wipe the slate clean of all these tasks of mine, and then I can be busy with these other projects of mine which are written in 45 minutes. Right. This is one immediate realization that we would get. The other thing is, by putting them up into these different buckets of 15 minutes, 30 minutes, and 30, 45 minutes, etc., what happens is that when we look at a specific, when we have, let's say you have about 20 minutes left and you're supposed to, before you are going in for your meeting or you're going in for your lunch, and you have to make a decision, okay, what is the task that I can complete in that 15 minutes or 20 minutes, you can immediately refer back to this particular chart and it'll tell you, okay, what are the 15 minutes tasks of yours which are pending. Okay, so it's very important that you keep something like this is there in front of you, and you are, the moment any task comes to your mind that you're supposed to do, just log in the tasks onto this particular chart, and then you'll slowly be able to analyze and see how you're able to complete the task. Okay, so this is one. The other thing is, now once you've made this, okay, let's say you don't have this 4 hours and 45 minutes luxury is not there with you, and you say that, okay, I want to pick up one task from here. So what I do is I add a tag and I say in the morning, I tag it as today. So in the morning, I'm doing my planning now. I say this is one task I'll do over here. I add another task. I say, okay, today, this is the other task that I'm doing, and let's say I have to give this proposal to a company. So this is the third task that I'm doing. So these are the three tasks which I've tagged as today. And then of course, if you want, you can tag something from here also. So once you've tagged these tasks, once you've tagged these three tasks, what I do is I ask AI, okay, let's go just step by step. So I say, okay, just to be sure, I say, okay, list all the tasks tagged as today. So immediately it's telling me that these are the tasks that you are supposed to do today. And then I say, what is the time duration for completing these tasks? Now, these are three tasks, so it doesn't matter much. But if you have 7, 8, 10 tasks and across these branches, it's easy for you to ask AI. It'll tell you, okay, so it's telling me you have 1 hour and 30 minutes of tasks. So I know I have to invest 1 hour and 30 minutes somewhere during the day so as to be able to complete this particular task, and then I can get back to my main task, which are the other projects that are running with me at the moment. these time frames are kind of indicative. Now, depending upon your nature of work, you could always, change these time frames that you see over here, and you could have something which is more in line with the type of activity that you would be doing. Now, after all this has been done, so I'm ready for the day. It is able to tell me that these are three things that you are able to that I need to do today, and this is the time it will take me. Another thing that I've recently started doing with AI is this. When I said is like another individual, so I said, why not ask this individual, are there any tasks in this mind map with which you can help me, right? So you have your task list in front of you, and you're asking AI, so what are this type of tasks that you thought? This is what it is telling me. Let's look. So there's yes, I can help you with planning project blog writing. So I can help you with this, with book publishing, with the AI presentation, with the new agreement. I can create, but I can help you with the key points, with the proposal, with draft promotion letter, with the customer testimonials, and tasks where it is also telling me where I cannot help much. So you cannot make the payment for me, of course, I know that. And to get started, just tell me which specific tasks are you working on, what type of assistance you need. Now, see, sometimes we know that what are the kind of tasks that AI may be able to help out with, but AI is also learning, is getting better day by day. So it's always a good idea to ask AI, are there any tasks? And you'll be surprised by the kind of answers that you might be giving. So it's telling me it cannot make the payment for me today, but probably tomorrow it will say, okay, give me your card number and I'll make the payments for whatever pending payments are there for you to be made. So like that, it's a good idea to just ask AI about this. Okay, so these were the three examples I wanted to share with you. These are like examples which are across an organization, which would help us to, navigate better with our planning. And with that, I just simply conclude with a small summary. See, one, of course, AI plus MM is here to stay. Right. AI has been there for quite some time. Even in context of mind mapping, AI was being used 4 years, 5 years ago, but now it's started to evolve rapidly. And so what is important is that we, each one of us, we kind of experiment daily with it, discover new users to aid your specific work. Because what I've shown over here is that these are things which were helping me, right, for my kind of activities. But I'm sure there could be other things with which AI might be able to help you, which could be your kind of specific activities with which it may be able to help you out. So with that, I conclude this short webinar. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm ready for questions, Sobia, in case there are any questions that need to be answered.
We do have a few questions. The first question is, what inspired you to explore planning through mind mapping?
Okay, so what
Yeah.
inspired me to explore planning through mind mapping? See, my first inspiration was actually using mind maps for project management. And I found that there were a number of areas where mind mapping could be utilized for project management, for requirements management, for, things like applying the Kano's model using mind maps, for brainstorming using for risk management, brainstorming, for learnings consolidation at the end of a project. So all these were different areas where mind maps could be utilized in project management. And then one of the fundamental things of project management is planning, right? And what I realized is that a lot of time people are, of course, the people use that Gantt chart and more sophisticated tools for planning. But I realized that there were a number of instances for simpler projects. It is possible for us to manage, projects using just a mind map. Projects which have simpler milestones, right? It is possible to manage them using a mind map itself. And that's how I started investigating more on this particular thing. I started experimenting with the mind map, like I showed you with the to do mind map. So that is time based, but let's say a project manager wants to utilize that kind of a mind map. So he could utilize a mind map which may not necessarily be time based, it could be project based, right? It for a person who's in marketing, he could utilize that mind map by having on the main branches the names of the clients. Right. So like this, the mind map for planning again gets customized or changed as per the specific requirement. So my motivation started off with first project management, and from there I got into this exploring mind planning through mind mapping.
Let me take the next question for
Yeah,
you.
sure.
How does turning project charter into a stakeholder mind map help a project manager anticipate challenges or communicate better with the team?
Okay. Yeah. See, when I was demonstrating that particular specific example, that was the first step, which is the identification of the stakeholder. All right. But what is important is the second step, where we are able to identify the benefits of the projects to each of the stakeholders. Right. And the moment we have those benefits in front of us, right, we are able to get a bigger picture of the project. Right. And when we have a bigger picture of the project, let's say a specific challenge comes, the when a specific challenge comes, right, the project manager and the team, they are also able to visualize what that particular challenge would have an impact on all the stakeholders, not necessarily their own. So, for example, like I remember we were working on a project where we were working with the team, and there was a challenge that when we were working, we worked on designs and submitting to a customer, but we were getting some kind of a news that probably the customer is going to file for bankruptcy. Right. So this was a challenge that came out. Now, immediately, we could envisage that, yes, if something like that happens, what is going to be the impact on all these stakeholders? Right. So it is not just that when the project team member came to know about this, so he would not think that, okay, oh my God, so what will happen to my project? He is now being trained to think in a bigger context, and then they're able to it's easier for the project manager also to kind of communicate those things. We were able to better plan our risks, because then we realized that if that being the case, we said that, okay, we probably need to slow down a bit on the delivery that we are giving. We know, okay, certain things we should not expose to this customer right now. We have to secure our payments first. So those kind of things then we started to think about, because we had awareness about all the stakeholders involved.
Thank you, Manish. So
Mm.
the next question is, what are the advantages of using AI to automatically extract key planning elements like stakeholders, tasks, or objectives from documents? How could this
Okay.
save time or reduce errors in your workflow?
Okay. So, see, there are a lot of things that can be extracted from documents using AI. Right. And the key advantage is now, for example, this particular project that we used as an example, uh, it was a project in which I just had a look at the document. I said, okay, let me try this out with AI. And immediately it was able to identify. Then I went back to the document to verify whether what AI has been able to identify, it is correct or not. And yes, it turned out to be correct that things that have been identified by AI are correct. So the advantage, of course, is the biggest advantage is one, you are able to save time. You know, uh, identifying stakeholders, is like a mundane task, I would say, in a way. So it's easy for AI to immediately identify it. The other interesting thing is, while doing some of my workshops and all, when I asked people, the team members, to identify their stakeholders, it came as a surprise to me initially that a lot of team members are not able to completely identify their stakeholders, right? So the other advantage using AI is that it gives you a comprehensive list of these stakeholders. Right. So one is time saving. It will give you an accurate list of the stakeholders. third, of course, but you'll have to check at your end as to what are the things, what are the items, the output that has been generated, whether that is again in line with your expectation or not, or there is some tweaking that needs to be done, right?
Thank you, Manish.
Yeah.
So the next question, how can showcasing benefits beyond just ROI, like team morale, design innovation, or user satisfaction, strengthen your case in project negotiations?
Yeah. Okay. Now, this is a very good question. Yes, this is, I think, very important. Like I mentioned, that the team uh, the team is focused upon the final product, and let's say the management is focused upon the ROI, right? But the moment you are able to see the benefits beyond this, and you're able to see that out of that one that is one benefit that I was initially thinking about, the ROI or something else. There are 7, 8 other benefits that are existing in this particular project, which I am able to now see. It opens up, bigger windows in your mind. And surprisingly, when you use this kind of benefits chart and show it to the top management, a lot of time you will find that even the top management has also not thought through the benefits across all the stakeholders, right? So this is something which really helps in it's help in the team morale and other areas. So team morale directly also, I've seen a lot of instances where team members who were doing the project, they realized that okay, this particular project is something new, it's more challenging, but I am able to learn something new through this particular project despite the challenges. If I'm able to complete this project successfully, now this becomes so the challenge actually becomes a motivator for the team member. So like this, the innovation part of it, or that you mentioned, and yeah, so team morale and all this definitely helps in strengthening your case in project negotiation, and it helps if you have this kind of a mind map ready with you and which you're able to show it to the team, show it to the top management or to a potential client. That is the way it would really help.
There are two more questions.
Yeah.
I'll read it for you. What are some common mistakes people make when planning across teams or departments?
While planning across teams.
Yeah, planning
Uh,
across teams or departments.
Okay, see, the common mistake that I'm finding is that two things. One, all the tasks are not identified during the planning. And the other mistake is that, especially in the case of cross-functional teams, we make plans which are existing in silos. Right. So that is something which has to be avoided completely, because when we look at a project is an amalgamation of different teams from different disciplines working together, and each one of them, they cannot be having a different plan. I'll give you an example, and so that is why it's very important that you do not maintain different kind of plans. I was auditing a project, and I asked the project manager. I said, "So can you show me your project plan?" So he asked me. He says, "Which plan do you want to see?" So I said, "Which plans do you have?" So he says, "I have one plan for the team. I have one plan for myself, and I have one plan for the project manager." So I said, then you failed the audit because you don't have one plan for the auditor. So now this is the place where you cannot be having multiple plans. You don't have a single plan on which everybody is able to communicate together. So that is, I think, very important, especially in case of cross-functional teams.
Thank you. So the
Yeah.
final question is, in what ways can a mind map act as a strategic dashboard for both leadership and teams? Can you think of a situation in your organization where this visualization could have improved clarity?
Uh, See, there are a number of ways in which a mind map can be utilized for strategic thinking, for having a strategic dashboard inside an organization. The way I look at it is, that a mind map is a tool which helps transform your linear thinking into this radial thinking or a visual thinking. So, having said that, there are a lot of tools that we are already using inside an organization, but probably we have not integrated those tools with mind mapping. So, as an example, for example, there is the 7 M's in quality, right, for identification of root cause effect, or we have, the 4 P's of marketing, right? Or there is a McKinsey's model for marketing that is existing. So there are different models that are already existing inside organization, and organizations are actually using those models. Now, the first step is that if you're able to propagate mind mapping inside your organization and you are able to showcase the benefit to your employees, to incorporate mind mapping into these different models which are already existing inside your organization, you would be able to immediately see the benefit of this. So, in fact, in this book of mine, in which we talk about this mind blowing meetings book, which is primarily for meetings, but in that there are a number of examples you will find which are like dashboards which can be utilized for mind maps for by the top management, by project managers. They can utilize it as a dashboard. So, for example, the EFQ model that we talked about was an example of a dashboard which can be utilized by the top management, and a lot of people are using it like that. They call it a top page or something like that. They call it by different names, but it exists like this. So, I mean, the bottom line is look at what is already being done and try to transform that into mind maps, check out the benefits, take a feedback from people, and then accordingly adopt it.